Hey and howdy everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's Jeannie with Paper Pixie Ink, and today we are finishing off our extra large Hello Pink Autumn mini album. So we are going to kind of work on the back of the 6th page and the inside back cover kind of simultaneously. So let's go ahead and pick out some paper to be our base for both of those pages. And then I'm going to go ahead and pick out one of my cut aparts for the inside back cover. I'm going to choose a larger one, and I'm going to make this kind of like a belly band, but it's going to be a T because we're going to create a kind of extra large insert to go on this. And let's cut down our pattern paper for our bases to our correct size, which is for the inside back of the 6th page. We're going to cut that to 7 3/4 by 10.5, and then we are going to cut the one for the inside back cover because it's slightly larger than the pages themselves. We're going to cut that to 10.5 by 8 1/8. So I'm just going to grab a couple pieces of scrap black cardstock that I had, and I'm going to cut one piece to 9 1/8 by 1.5 inches. And I'm going to score it at the 1/2 inch mark and the 8 5/8 inch mark. And this is going to be the top part of our T for our belly band. And then for the vertical part of the T for our belly band, we're going to cut another piece of scrap cardstock to 5.5 by 1.5 and score at the 1/2 inch mark. Now let's glue both of our pattern paper to the back of the back of the 6th page and the inside back cover. So now I'm going to find the center of my top part of my T on the long edge, and then I'm going to find the center on the short edge of the bottom part of my T, just so that when I glue them together, I can make sure that I have it centered and the T isn't, off. So let's do that and then glue those together and then glue them on. So we're going to hop back over to the back of the 6th page. We are going to make 4 little flip up photo mat, I guess. Yeah, photo mats. So to do this, we're going to cut 4 pieces of black cardstock to 8 inches by 3 inches, and then we're going to score that on the short side at 4 inches, so that when you fold it over, you get a 4 by 3 little photo mat flip card thing. So let's go ahead and get that done. So to finish off these components, I am going to use some of my 2 3/4 by 3 3/4 photo mats that I had done up. Now I only had 3, so I had to make 1 more. I also decided on the top part of the inside, I'm going to use 1 for each of my small vertical journaling cards that I made. Again, those are available on my website if you're interested in downloading those to print yourself. And then the top part, I just used a piece of pattern paper that matched with the kind of look of the 2 pages together, and I cut those again to 2 3/4 by 3 3/4. Once we have all our pieces cut, we're going to add magnets to each one of these so that they stay closed when you're flipping the pages open. So we're going to put magnets on the inside, top and bottom, and then we're going to put or attach all of our different components for all 4 of these. So now to finish off our page, let's glue these down. I just eyeballed mine, but you could measure exactly to get them completely centered and straight if you so desire. Alright, so moving back to the inside back cover, we are going to cut a piece of black cardstock to back our large cut apart. Mine is going to be cut to 6 3/4 by 6 inches, but if you used a different cut apart, just measure and cut the cardstock to whatever you need it to be. And then I'm going to cut 3 pieces of pattern paper to put on the belly band that will be showing. So I'm going to cut 2 pieces of pattern paper to 1 1/4 by 1 1/4, and that's for the left and right side of the horizontal belly band. And then I'm going to cut a piece to 2 inches by 1 1/4 inches, and that is going to be for the bottom part of the vertical piece of the belly band. And then I'm going to glue the 3 pieces of small card or pattern paper down to my belly band. I'm going to glue my cut apart to my black cardstock, and then I'm going to glue that down to my belly band, and I'm just going to center it. Alright, so we have finished all of the kind of base part of the album. We've done all of the pages, front and back. We've done the inside, front, and back covers. So now let's move on to doing some of our inserts for some of our pages. So I'm going to use a combination of various things to do this. I'm going to use some of my pre-made photo mats, or I'll make more if needed. I'm going to use some of the cut-aparts that I still have left, and I will use some of my journaling cards as well that I created and printed. So to get started, we are going to work on the front of the first page. When you open your flap, we created that decorative pocket. So we're going to create a few things to put inside here. So we're going to use Cut Apart from the collection. I'm going to use the large fall one that I still have left. I'm going to use one of my large photo mats. So the mat itself is 4 1/4 by 6 1/4, and the black backing cardstock for that is 6 1/2 by 4 1/2, so that it'll fit a 4 by 6 photo. And then I'm going to use one of my vertical large journaling cards that I will make into a tag. So to make these, my photo mat is already done, and I've given you the measurements if you don't have one left. The black cardstock that I need to cut for my fall cut apart piece is going to be cut to 6 1/2 by 5 3/4. And then I'm going to cut another piece of black cardstock to create my little tag for my journaling card. And I'm going to cut that to 2 5/8 of an inch by 7 7/8 of an inch. And then I'm going to use one of my punches from We Are Memory Keepers to create the topper on this. And it's a little bit larger, obviously, than what the punch can handle. So there will be a couple little kind of pieces at the top that I'm just going to snip off using my paper snips. So let's go ahead and get that done. So once we've glued everything together, I want to do something to kind of decorate my pocket a little bit. I'm just going to use one of my pieces of ephemera from the collection, and I'm going to back it with some black cardstock. Now, I flipped this over, I traced the outside edges of it, and then I used my Brother Scan and Cut to cut a piece that will, you know, kind of match it exactly. You could just back it with some black cardstock. You can fussy cut the black cardstock. You could do a square. There's a few different ways that you could probably do this, but since I have my Brother Scan and Cut, I'm going to do that. So for our next page here, I never did glue in these photo mats that we had placed here earlier because I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do with these spaces, but I'm going to go ahead and just glue the photo mats to their black cardstock backing and then glue them onto my page. Alright, so these two pages are the ones that I had issues with. I didn't realize when I created the different components for them that they were going to interfere with each other when you were, you know, opening and closing the pages. So I decided to take the cardstock or the chipboard butterflies off that I had temporarily stuck there, and thought that I could help resolve the issue by using a couple pieces of the flatter ephemera instead. And so I went ahead and chose a couple pieces of the ephemera, and I traced them out onto the black cardstock. I used my Brother Scan and Cut to cut out matching mats for those. Unfortunately, it did not resolve the issue. So I won't be able to do this combination of page styles together again because they do definitely interfere, and I have had to put just a random piece of cardstock between the two pages to keep them from interfering with each other. So bear that in mind. If you are creating this as well, you are probably going to want to change up these pages a bit. So anyway, let's go ahead and get that done, and then we will move on to the other components that we are going to create for this page. So I apparently stopped recording somehow, or it stopped recording somehow while I was making these tags. So I'm going to walk you through how to make these. I made two. They're the exact same size. I took 2 pieces of black cardstock and I cut them to 6 3/8 by 3 7/8. And then I took 2 pieces of pattern paper and I cut those to 6 1/8 by 3 1/2. I just happened to have these pieces of pattern paper that were that size, so that's why they're kind of an odd size. And then to create the kind of angled tag part of it, I just measured 1 inch from each corner and then cut that diagonally on both sides. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll glue them together and move on. So the last component that we're going to create for this page is for our larger pocket. We're going to create a little photo mat to go in this. To do this, we're going to take a piece of black cardstock and we're going to cut it to 6 1/2 by 10 inches. I'm going to take 2 of my 4 1/4 by 6 1/4 photo mats. So they're going to go on the top and bottom, and then the strip in between, we're just going to take a piece of pattern paper. Now this happened to be a scrap that I had that I just kind of cut down a little bit to size, and that measures 6 1/4 by 1 inch. And then we're just going to glue them down. So moving along to this page, we're just going to do a very simple pattern paper photo mat to go in here, a very large one. So we're going to pick a piece of pattern paper and then we're going to cut a piece of black cardstock to 7 1/4 by 10 inches. And we'll cut the piece of pattern paper to 7 inches by 9 3/4 inches. And then we'll glue it together and put it in. So for our double pocket page, at first I thought that I might just use some of my 4x6 journaling cards from the collection to create some mats for this, but in the end I ultimately decided to just use 2 of my large photo mats and 1 of my large cut-aparts and then 1 of my large vertical journaling cards. So in order to create the large tuck away piece that has the large cut apart on it, I took a piece of black cardstock and I cut it to 7 inches by 10 inches. And then I cut, because I wanted this size of this to be the same as the width of my large horizontal journaling card, I backed my cut apart with some of my, I think it's champagne, maybe, glitter cardstock. It's kind of like a sandy gold-ish color. Anyway, I cut my glitter cardstock to 6 3/4 by 7 1/8, and then I laid it all down on my piece of black cardstock that I had cut. And then I used 2 of my large photo mats for the bottom pocket, and then I created another journaling card to tuck into the smaller pocket as well. So I just backed it with some black cardstock. I didn't make a tag or anything for this one. And I cut my cardstock to 6 3/4 by 2 5/8. So let's go ahead and get that done. All right, so moving on to the front of our 6th page, we created a pocket to create a big insert for. So we're going to go ahead and create that insert. To do so, we're going to cut a piece of black cardstock to 6 5/8 of an inch by 9 3/8 of an inch. I'm going to use 2 of my medium photo mats, which again, they were cut to 5 1/4 inches by 3 3/4 inches. I'm going to cut down one of my large vertical journaling tags or journaling cards to 2 1/2 inches, which is its normal width, and 5 1/4 inches. And then I'm going to take a piece of scrap pattern paper, and I'm going to cut it to 1 inch by 3 3/4 inches. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my journaling card in the top left corner. I'm going to put one of my photo mats in a portrait position to the right of that, and that, if you leave about 1/8 of an inch on either side and between the journaling card and photo mat, should take up the top part. And then for the bottom, in the bottom left hand corner, I'm going to put my second photo mat in a landscape style, and I'm going to use the piece of pattern paper that I cut to finish off this insert. So let's go ahead and get that cut and get everything glued down and move on. All right, so we're getting there. We're going to move on to the insert that we're going to create to go in our little T kind of belly band on the inside back cover. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 2 pieces of black cardstock. We're going to cut one to 8 inches by 9 1/2 inches, and we are going to score that at the 1/2 inch mark along the long edge. And then we are going to take another piece of black cardstock and cut it to 7 1/2 inches by 9 1/2 inches. We are going to fold on the score line and then glue those 2 pieces together using the flap that we just created. And then we're going to cut a piece of pattern paper to 7 1/4 by 9 1/4, and we're going to glue that to the front of your little booklet that you just created, and we're going to insert that into our little T band holder, I guess, that we created for our inside back cover. So let's go ahead and get that done. All right, so we're getting there. The next step that we are going to complete is to create our extra large inserts for each one of our pocket pages. So we have 6 pages, so we need to create 6 of these. To create these, I took 6 pieces of black cardstock and I cut them to 8 1/2 by 10 inches. And then I picked out 6 pieces of pattern paper and I cut those to 8 1/4 by 9 3/4. I did decide to use my corner rounder for the left side of these that will be inside the pockets, just to give a little bit more detail, and I used the large 1/2 inch size. And then for the right side of these that will stick out of the pocket, I used the scallop crocodile corner chomper, whatchamacallit, for all of these. So let's go ahead and get all of those done and inserted. So we are just about done. The last piece that we are going to do is we are going to take some of our very thin, long scraps of pattern paper that we had, and we're going to cut those to 10 5/8 by 3/8 of an inch. And we are going to glue those down between all of our pages. So between the inside front cover and the first page, between the first and second page, etc. So we're going to need 7 pieces of that, and we're just going to go ahead and glue that down. So that's the end of our tutorial series for this Hello Pink Autumn Not So Mini mini album. Please let me know if you have any questions or comments in the comments section on my videos. As always, if you're interested in seeing more, don't forget to click on that subscribe button. Thanks for watching, everyone.